What's up, friends? Matt Turpin and Sam Sleeman on the line. Brock Edwards. What's up, team? What is up, guys? All right. See some more people hopping on. Let's make sure we're live on Facebook. What's up, Facebook family? We are live. Awesome, guys. I think we're live with our Unleashed CEO fam, as well as our 7-figure healthy business friends in Facebook as well. Just want to welcome you guys for joining us today. This is actually our weekly CEO Mindset and Habits call that we start every week off, every Monday off with. And that's really on purpose, right? Because what people don't realize, guys, is like the hardest thing to do in your business when you're in this kind of 6-figure stage is keep your mindset right. It really is. We just found this over and over and over and over again. And so we like to start the week off recalibrating back, right, to the right mindset that's going to help us grow our businesses, grow our teams, and ultimately serve more people and make a bigger impact. So super excited to have that time with you guys today. And get ready, guys, because we got some fire to share today. So if you're taking notes, which you should, if you're not, I want to encourage you to write at the top, ascending to CEO. Sounds a little uppity, but you'll see why it's so important in just a minute. And we're going to talk about 4 steps, guys. 4 steps on the path to ascending to the CEO level in your business. I talk to business owners all the time, right? Who they know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. They know what it's like to even be an owner operator. They do not know what it is like to be a CEO in their business, right? They don't know what that looks like on a practical level. And so I want to talk to you guys about some steps that you can take today to make that transition from entrepreneur or owner operator who's doing everything yourself to CEO, right? What do you actually have to do to kind of make that shift and make that change? And that's what we're going to dig into a little bit today. You guys will have to pardon me. I have a window right over here. I need to get a lampshade for it, but it's really bright. It's shining right in. So if my face is glowing like an angel, you guys know why now. Okay. So I want to start, guys, with something that's a little bit cliche, but I think it's going to help some of you guys. And it's an acronym. Okay. So for some of you guys, you're like, okay, what does it even mean to be a CEO, right? What does that even mean? And I actually put this little acronym here. I don't know if you guys can see that. CEO, okay? CEO. So I'm going to give you guys a little acronym to think about when you think about the role of a CEO. And, you know, in particular, there's kind of 3 roles, okay, that the CEO has. There's more than this, I'm sure, but I found that there's kind of 3 essential roles that the CEO has that you must step into. And there's actually a little bit of an order to them as well. So let's dig into this. So the first role of the CEO is to clarify. Okay. Clarify. As simple as that sounds, the number 1 role of the CEO is to create clarity. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. It's to create clarity. And the reality is that a lot of businesses are started by people who are good at what they do, but they do not know how to build a business bigger than them around what they do, right? So it's one thing to go, okay, I understand how to do this myself. That's not what I'm talking about here. It's another thing to be able to go, here is what our company is. Here's what we stand for. Here's what we do. Here's who we do it for. And here's how we do it. Okay. If that cannot be clearly articulated, then it's not clear. Okay. I just was talking with another team member about this, and I love the famous Albert Einstein quote that says, if you cannot explain something in a sentence, you don't understand it well enough. Okay. So the question is, can you clarify for the people around you what your business does, who you serve in a sentence, right? Can you clarify in a sentence or 2 what the culture of your company is? Can you clarify to someone the absolute right next hire that you need in a sentence or 2? right? If the answer to that is no, 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 then you are fundamentally not operating in one of the main roles of a CEO. And it's time to change that. Okay. You have to change that, right? The number one role of the CEO is to create clarity. Okay. Number two, second thing in the CEO acronym here is to empower. Okay. And these go together because you cannot empower without clarity. But once you have clarity, your job as the CEO is not to simply execute yourself. Okay. And this is really tough for a lot of solopreneurs trained in hustle and grind mentality to accept, right? Some people are like, oh, I just can't let go of control. I can't, give up the reins. I can't trust somebody else who will do it as well as I will. Okay. Then you will never ascend to the role of CEO, my friend. So the number one role, remember, is to clarify. So if you cannot empower, oftentimes it ties back to a clarity issue. Okay. But if you have clarity, then you should have everything you need to find and empower the right people. And that is one of your main roles as the CEO. You have to empower. I know, guys, this sounds like basic leadership 101, but common sense is not common practice. Okay. A lot of people reading a lot of leadership books going empower, 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 and they're still doing $15 an hour activities in their business and they refuse to delegate them. Full vulnerability with you guys. I made a post this morning for I made a post in, actually for a contractor position today for a $25 to $35 an hour role. And it is a task within my business I have been spending on average 8 to 10 hours a week on. 8 to 10 hours a week, maybe more sometimes, 8 to 12 hours a week. And I've been doing that for quite some time. Okay. And there's some reasons and excuses I can make around that. But I planted a stake in the ground today and I went, I'm going to create the clarity, which I did. I have for the most part, and I can, add more as I go. And then I need to empower someone else to do this because it is not my highest and best use of time. It's not my unique ability. Okay. I'm not leading as the CEO unless I take the clarity we have and empower other people with it. Okay. The last letter in this acronym is optimize. Okay. Optimize. And yes, that is a terrible looking Z, but optimize. You guys get the point. Okay. If you are going to play the role of CEO, you are going to have to create clarity, empower the right people. And this is the part most people miss. Okay. Is then you have to optimize performance. Okay. This is where a lot of people miss it. Okay. Is they don't have the clarity they need. They empower the wrong people when they get desperate, right? They hire from need instead of vision, right? Instead of really leading people, they hire from need. And then when those people don't immediately begin to perform at the level they want, or they're, not really hitting things the way they are, they sort of give up on them. They fire them. They kind of let them wander on their own, or they even undercut them and step in and do the job for them. Okay. No. Even if you do these first two steps right, you have clarity and you've empowered the right people, you are still going to have to optimize their performance. Okay. And this looks like a couple different things. One is having a plan for your people's personal development. So CEO who has employees, who even has contractors, do you have a plan to optimize your people's performance? Do you know what skills they need to develop to be successful in their role? And do you have a plan to help them develop those skills? And if the answer is no, then you are missing out on this role of a CEO. You're not playing this role the way you need to grow to the next level. So this is why I recommend every person on your team, you have a personal development plan for them, right? You actually connect them with the right mentor, buy them the correct course, assign them to the right coach, give them the right books to read, right? Have them do the right research projects, whatever that may look like. Okay. It's your responsibility as the CEO to actually optimize your people's performance. Okay. And help them win at their job. Right. So we just got off a call right before this, right? Where I'm on a call with our sales team and we are reviewing live time actual calls with prospects. We're giving feedback. We're developing them. We're infusing culture. We're adding resources, right? These are the kinds of things that create high performing teams. High performers don't just spring up out of the ground and magically hit all of their numbers and all of their KPIs right away. It's going to require you to invest time in optimizing your people's performance. And this, again, applies to contractors or employees. Doesn't matter their W-2 status, right? You got to invest in optimizing your people. Okay, so that's number one of today's training, okay? Now you said, Richard, those are 3 steps, not 4. No. These aren't 3 steps. These are 3 roles that you have as the CEO. Now, what I want to give you guys is I'm going to put this all together for you guys, and it's going to result in 4 steps, okay? But these are the 3 roles of a CEO, okay? So now what I want to talk to you guys about is 4 types of clarity that you actually need within your business and what your role is as the CEO within each one of them, okay? I've also discussed the same model before as kind of 4 levels of operations within your business, right? 4 levels that you need to operate at within your business, okay? So let me shift to that, and then trust me, the whole picture is going to become clear shortly. Okay, so the first and most common level, right, of clarity that you have in your business, I'll just start at the bottom, is what we call tactics. Tactics, okay? I don't know if you guys can see that, but tactics, right? And the world of business is obsessed with tactics, okay? Everybody has a marketing tactic. Everybody has a hiring tactic. Everybody has a business growth tactic. We as a culture love hacks and, tactics and, little tweaks and little fixes. We love to plug holes with duct tape. That's kind of the realm of tactics. And I won't say that tactics aren't important. They are, okay? But as the CEO, too many people who in theory want to be the CEO spend a vast majority of their time creating tactical clarity, okay? Or another way to say this would be they're operating at a tactical level. They're putting out fires all the time. They're, solving little, in the weeds issues. And 90% of their time is spent here, okay, in tactics world, all right? And that's the only type of clarity their business ever has. And as new problems come up, like gophers, hopping out of the ground, they just whack-a-mole, whack, 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 whack. And that's the only kind of clarity they create within their business is tactical clarity. All right. This is a big problem. You can never ascend to the role of CEO if you only have tactical clarity. All right. The second level within your business, I'm going to use a different color just because it's cool, is strategy, right? Strategy. Okay. And tactics are kind of like steps. Strategy is like a map, okay? Strategy is when you actually take time as a business to identify goals, projects, and objectives that you want to hit, whether that be KPIs, numbers, objectives that you want to hit. And then from that, you reverse engineer tactics. You reverse engineer steps that are going to get you there. Okay, this is a higher level of operation as a CEO, and it is essential. You have to become strategic if you want to grow and scale your business. And it's a struggle sometimes to get people here when they're so used to the hustle and grind, but this is critical. However, I will say that there's a lot of people who are listening to me. You go, I have a strategy. We have KPIs, we have numbers, we have projects, we have quarterly goals or rocks or OKRs, whatever that would be. Okay. We have a strategy, but it's still not getting us where we need to be. And that's because strategy is actually, guys, not that uncommon. Everyone has a strategy. All right. Every business at some level, I shouldn't say every business, but most businesses at some level have a strategy. Okay. And it's not really, it doesn't differentiate you at all to be operating at a strategic level. You're still, maybe rising above the average median. But strategy is important, but it's not the most important level to be operating at as a business owner. And in fact, it's much better to operate at a strategic level from the next level. And the next level is what we call vision. Vision. Okay. Very, very critical. There's a very small percentage of the population who is actually operating from a clear vision. There are very few business owners and operators who want to become a CEO can clearly articulate to me what their vision is. Okay. I know a lot of people who will say, we have a vision. We have a vision statement. I know what my vision is. And I'll ask them again, cool, what is it? And they'll go off on this long rambling rant that's totally incoherent and not clear and not concise and not weaponized, as we like to call it. Okay. You do not have a clear vision. Okay. Your people will never understand that. You'll never be able to rally someone to that. Okay. You'll never be able to attract A players, pierce their hearts, and create the opening for them to want to come in and be part of your vision without that weaponized, clear, articulated vision. Okay. So this is really important, guys, that we understand that it's so important as the CEO to define the destination. Okay. To define what it is you want. What are you aiming for long-term? Not just talking about KPIs and numbers and all that stuff. What's the vision? What's the thing that's bigger than you that all of this is actually about? What is it all driving towards? Okay. And if you don't have an answer to that, there's just going to be a limit to the level of inspiration you're going to be able to create to the people around you. There's going to be a limit to the amount of momentum that you can create within your team and organization. Okay. I hope this is helping somebody, guys. So let me know in the comments if it is. And feel free, guys, as I'm going through to ask questions as they come to you. Okay. So this is kind of the next layer of clarity that you have to have as a CEO and that you need to be operating is from a place of vision. However, there is one additional layer to all of this that almost nobody talks about. Okay. And I actually think it's one of the most important areas that you need to bring clarity to as the CEO. If you truly want to rise to that CEO level in your business, you must create clarity around and operate from a place of identity. Identity. And identity trumps everything else, guys. Some of the best businesses on the planet became what they became and do what they do, not because of tactics, strategy, or vision, but because it flowed from a powerful identity the founder had and then extended to the organization. Okay. They created, some people call this a culture, right? Some people call this a high performing environment. Like there's a lot of terms for this, but what it comes down to at the end of the day is there was a clear identity where people did things, not just because they were strategically smart or even because they were inspired by an outcome, but it was because there was a group of people who owned the fact that we do these things because this is who we are here. Okay. And psychology has proven that the most powerful motivator for human behavior is actually congruence, which is feeling like you do things because it's congruent with who you believe yourself to be, your true identity, right? Your belief system. And so this is where, as the CEO, not only do you need to have clarity personally on your identity and vision, but you need to actually be able to extend a powerful form of clarity to your team and organization around who we are here and where we're headed, right? And when you can create clarity around those things, you can empower and optimize in that direction, okay? So I hope this is making sense so far, guys. But again, we have the three main roles of the CEO: clarify, empower, and optimize. Then we have 4 levels of clarity that you need to operate from as the CEO, which is identity, vision, strategy, and tactics. And where that leads me to today, guys, is giving you 4 recommendations, 4 steps that I want to encourage you to take in order to step into these roles and get this clarity that you need. Okay. Get this clarity, not just that you need, but get it to your team as well. Okay. And the team you're attempting to build right now. Okay. So number 1, okay. Number 1 is reflect. Reflect. Now, I know this sounds a little big picture, like you're going to go off in the woods and have some, kumbaya campfire session. All right. Some of you might actually need to do that though. Okay. Because you are so caught in the hustle and grind of your business. You can't even remember the last time you got away, stepped away, and created space to reflect on what it is you're really doing. Okay. Just yesterday, our team, we do a monthly kind of mini offsite where we get away from the noise of our business. We shut our phones off. We're not dealing with issues and problems and client demands and requests. And we recalibrate back to our identity and our vision. And we reflect on these things that we just talked about. Okay. Some of you don't have a team yet, but you need to create that same environment for yourself regardless. I'm going to encourage some of you need to just like take 2 days away in a cabin somewhere. Some of you need to rent an Airbnb, okay? And go with nothing but a notebook and a journal. And you actually need to like reflect, okay? And ask the question, who are we here? What are we doing? Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? And if you can do that, man, the tactics will fall in line if you will create clarity across these dimensions, which is going to require some reflection time for some of you. Okay. Some time to sit with yourself away from all the noise and all the issues and all the fires and actually reflect on who you are, what you want, and how to get there. Okay. Number two, and that's a toughie for a lot of business owners. But the second step you're going to need to do is you can't just stay in reflection world forever. You have to document. That's right. I said document for all of you visionaries out there who are like, what? Yes, you have to document the clarity that's in your brain. Okay. And you're going to need tools for this. And thankfully we have a lot of them. All right. But you're going to need to take and extract what's in your brain and actually put it on paper so other people can read it and see it and align around it and process it and then actually utilize it and act on it. Okay. So for all you visionaries out there who are going, oh man, I've done a lot of reflecting, but I still don't have it documented. Well, that's your next step. That's your issue. You've got to take some time and begin to document the clarity you do have. And I know so many visionaries who are going right now, they're like, but man, there's things I don't know. Man, what if you just focused on getting on paper the things you do know? Imagine how much more empowered your people would be. Imagine how much more clearly you could articulate that to the people you want to hire, or you want to join your team, or you want to become clients. Okay. Reflect and then document. Number 3 for today, guys, third step is communicate. Communicate. And I see so many visionaries who don't do this either. It's so funny. So many amazing owner operators who are like, we've got documents, we've got systems, we've got a vision statement, we've got a purpose, we've got a BHAG, we've got a, okay. And then I'll sit down with them and I'll ask them, I'll be like, hey, so when was the last time you communicated that? When was the last time you guys pulled that sucker up and talked about it and discussed it as a team? When was the last time you shared with your team about that? When was the last time you brought up those core values who are hanging on a wall somewhere? When was the time? And that's where the conversation gets a little awkward, right? Because if we're honest, we get so caught up in our business that we forget to communicate the things we already do know. We've already documented. And this is why it's so important to bake communication of your culture, your vision, and your strategy into your systems. Okay. You need to bake it into your meeting agendas. You need to bake it into your calendar. You need to have regular channels for sharing vision, sharing wins, sharing. These things need to be established so that you as the CEO are empowered to take what's documented and re-communicate it over and over and over and over. Because the reality is, guys, you have to say something 7 times before people hear it for the first time. That's just human psychology. Okay. And so for many of us, it cannot stop with documenting the clarity we have. We have to communicate it. We have to take that as part of our role just to clarify. And clarify doesn't mean clarify at once. It means over and over and over and over. Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. Okay. Lastly, guys, number 4 for today. Number 4 is question. And some of you guys, once you get clear on these things, right? You get clear around your identity, or maybe you get clear again. Maybe you were clear at one point, but you've kind of lost sight of some things and you're just not as clear as you used to be. This is where you need to start to question things again. And this is what comes back to optimizing. Some of you need to be asking fair but tough questions to your team right now and going, hey guys, in light of who we are here, why are we doing things this way? Hey, in light of our vision, why are we focused on this department of our organization? Why are we allocating resources here? Hey, in light of the strategic plan we laid out, why are we not hitting our KPIs this month? Hey, what's the biggest barrier to you accomplishing X project, right? A lot of us as CEOs, we aren't spending enough time here in our optimizer role because we're not asking good questions. And these are questions you need to ask yourself and you need to be asking your team, okay? You need to question everything as a CEO. Not by that, I don't mean always be deconstructing and changing what you're doing, but I'm saying part of your role, right, is to audit the gap between your vision and your reality, okay? You need to audit that gap and figure out why it exists and ask the right questions until clarity comes on what needs to happen to bridge the gap between the two, okay? And this is where, again, it's not just enough to reflect, document, and communicate. You also have to question what is happening in order to be able to bridge the gap between your reality and your vision. So hopefully that was helpful to somebody today. And what a pleasure, guys. This is super, super fun. So my question to you guys would be, what questions do you have? This is an open book. I know we're across multiple Facebook channels. Based on what I shared today, the 3 roles of the CEO are to clarify, empower, and optimize. 4 levels of clarity you're going to need is clarity on your identity, vision, strategy, and tactics. And the 4 steps you're going to need to take to implement what I talked about today is reflect, document, communicate, and question. So I'm going to encourage you guys, even if you read this left to right, you need to clarify your identity and vision by reflecting. Then you need to empower via a clear strategy, which means you need to document and communicate. You need to document and communicate a clear strategy in order to empower your people. And then lastly, in order to optimize, you're going to need to look at the discrepancy between the tactics of what's happening and your identity and vision, and then question until the clarity comes on what needs to be done to bridge the gap between your reality and your vision. So hopefully that ties it all together for you guys. So what questions do you guys have? We're an open book, Unleashed CEO fam. Feel free to hop into Zoom and ask your questions there. And for those of you guys who are on Facebook, let me know what questions you guys have. Oop. What questions do you guys have? Who's got a question for us today? What's up, Hillary? What's up, Eric? Hey, Scott. I love seeing some of you guys here on Facebook with us. What's up, guys? Emily, good to see ya. Tim, good to see you as well. Super glad to have you guys watching with us. Who's got questions? Christine, glad to have you on. Questions. Nobody has questions today. That's okay. But I'd love to take any that you guys have. Hi, Richard. How do we implement? Great question. Very practical, Christine. I love it. Feel free to add even additional clarity to that if you'd like. And if you'd like to come on live, that's great too. Just let me know. But as far as implementing, Christine, I kind of referenced how do we implement new things with current staff? Got it. So I'm going to act like I was answering this for just the first question for a second, and then feel free, Christine, to add any clarity you want to add into the comments, or let me know if you want to come on live. But as far as implementing kind of what we talked about today, again, I think I kind of tied this down. You know, the first thing to do, guys, is ask yourself, have I clarified our identity and vision? And if not, when am I going to make space on my calendar to reflect and document those things, right? in order to empower your people, you're going to also need to document and communicate the strategy, right? And then lastly, to optimize what is currently happening and sort of audit the difference between your reality and vision, you're going to need to examine the discrepancy between tactics and your identity and vision, and then really question until the clarity comes. So that's as if I was answering just how do we implement what we talked about today. As far as Christine, your question of how do we implement new things with your current staff, that is a fantastic question. So this comes back to kind of a topic that's talked about a lot in corporate world, especially as organizations get a lot bigger. And it's basically called change management or change leadership. So it's kind of its whole own subtopic of leadership and management. There's even entire books written on it, right? I guess my question to the question, Christine, and I'll give you a high level answer. But as far as how to implement new things with your current staff, I think it kind of depends a bit on what kind of things we're talking about. So it depends on, like, if we're talking about something, again, sort of tactical in nature, I think it can just be an issue in one of your team meetings, right? It can just be, hey guys, here's something we're doing right now. Here's what I think we need to do instead. Let's have some good, honest, and open discussion and debate about that as a team. Find the best solution, right? Which your solution isn't always the right one on a tactical level as the CEO. And the only time as a CEO you should be pulling the trump card on your team on tactical things is when what you're currently doing or what's being proposed is totally out of line with the identity and vision piece, because that's your job to protect that as the CEO. So if something you're doing down here is going to endanger the culture and vision, then you absolutely have to fight, right? And fight that tactical change, or make that tactical change in some cases. However, if it's not endangering these, your answer isn't always the right one, right? So that's where really ownership culture, right, would say hire the right people who are better than you at what you do, and then work to make them the best at what they do where you guys are in your organization, and then trust them, right? To sometimes trust them to sometimes have the right answers, even when you don't, right? A lot of CEOs struggle with this, right? They just struggle with giving away authority, right? True authority, where it's like, you have the authority to make decisions, even sometimes decisions that I'm like, I don't know if I would do it that way, you know? So anyways, that's a little bit of a one-off. Just to address, I'm going to get to your next question in just a second, Christine, but to address the kind of the first one, right, to fully tie the knot on that, if it's something much bigger, right, let's say you've had a revelation about your company identity as a visionary, or your vision, there's been a major change, or man, there's a big strategic change that we need to make as an organization, then I think there's a couple considerations, right? One is make sure that changes are discussed, same paged, and that you've gotten buy-in at anyone at the leadership level in your organization before it gets decided and dripped down, right? You got to solicit the buy-in and get the right people on board within your business before you just kind of roll out big, changes like this, right? Because otherwise you become the visionary who always has flavor of the month, ideas, and you're just kind of always dishing out, new, shiny, new, and your people are like rolling their eyes and like, oh, here's that crazy entrepreneur visionary again, who has this new change of this new direction for us to take. Like, you don't want to become that leader, right? So you have to do it the right way. And make sure that you've given the right people in your organization. You may not have them yet, but the right people, the opportunity to challenge your ideas, right? And that comes back to, again, clarity, right? Where it's like, these people at that level, you guys need to be same paged about this stuff, right? And really all be like 100% on the same page, answering the questions the same way about who we are here and where we're headed here. And if you're not on the same page about that, then I mean, good luck, right? Getting them on board for new things, right? New changes. So it's kind of got to start there. The other thing I would say is like, as far as implementing things, the other thing I would say is if you do have your leadership team on the same page, or you don't have a leadership team, right? What I would recommend is, again, just make sure that this stuff is documented. Find a medium, right, to communicate that in an inspiring way to your team, and then connect the changes that need to be made back to this identity and vision. So to give you an example of this, it doesn't have to look this way, but something we recommend as companies start to grow is that once a quarter, you have an all hands on deck meeting, right? An all company meeting. You pull everybody in the organization together, right? Pull everybody in the organization together. And that's where, as once a quarter, you as the visionary are passionately sharing about your identity, your vision, and the strategy, right, for the next season. That's what you need to be doing in that quarterly meeting. This, again, is an example. And then, right, in the context of that, you can invite feedback, you can invite conversation, you can get everybody on board with that documented vision and you sharing about it, right? And then you can connect the dots for them and go, okay, in light of who we are here, where we're headed, and how we're going to get there, here are some of the tactical changes we need to implement. And that's when the light bulb goes off for them and they're not kind of ticked where they're like, oh man, making changes, that's going to make my job easier. I have to relearn this or whatever. When people understand the why behind the what, right? They're kind of like, oh, I see. And they can even get on board with the change, right? As long as they're the right people, they can get on board and go, wow, that's exciting because I can see how if we make these tactical changes, it's going to put us on track to be these people, move towards this vision, accomplish our strategy, right? So that's really where, like, again, like you said, Christine, above, allowing time, right? And sometimes, honestly, you need that time too, right? So not only does your team need time to get buy-in, but honestly, we're not always as clear as we think we are as visionaries, right? So it's like having a process to sort of go on the journey with your team, get that buy-in. It's going to further cement that clarity for you. So what I will say is, I will warn people listening is, like, if you do not have the right people on your team right now, and you don't really have anyone who's like entrepreneurial at heart or really like fits a leadership level role in your organization, I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about like going like, man, we have to have these big meetings and I've got to inspire everybody and I got to get all of their input and buy-in, and they got to have input on all the high level stuff. Cause like some of them are just going to be like, I don't care, or I don't know, or like, I don't even have any input. Right. So you sort of have to have some like personnel awareness. And this is where like a little bit more of like, having somebody, a mentor who can sort of ask you the right questions and customize some of these principles specific to your situation is like really important. But at a general level, Christine, what I shared is sound advice, which is, again, get the team all on the same page about this stuff, work on the strategy together, and then just help them connect the dots around any tactical or strategic changes that need to happen. Make sure that they clearly understand how making those changes allows you to move towards your vision and operate from your identity as a company more accurately. Does that make sense? Right? Yeah. And you will find out if you have the right people at the very least by the process. That is very true, Christine. That is very, very true. And as a leader, you have to be unafraid of that at some level. I know a lot of leaders who are terrified to lose people. And that doesn't mean you be irresponsible with your people, right? But it does mean at some level, you have to be committed to that company culture and identity and that vision. It needs to be a little fanatical, where it's like, this is who we are here. This is where we're headed here. And if you don't want to be like that and do that, that's cool. We love you. Like, go find the right place where you can be who you are and do what you want to do. It's just not here, right? Because this is who we are here and this is where we're headed here, right? So that's what I would say, right? Is just not being afraid, right, to engage that process, right, with people. So again, just to simplify again, I would just make sure you have that clarity, you've reflected on it, you've documented it, and then have channels to communicate it over and over and over, communicate it more than once, communicate. And then from that place of clarity, question the process, question tactical changes and new things that need to get implemented in order to put it on track for that, and get your team involved in the process of making those decisions and implementing those more tactical and or strategic changes, so that you're on track to, move towards, your vision. So is that helpful, Christine? Hopefully that's a good, helpful summary of what we were talking about. Seems like it was helpful. Who else do we got on Facebook? Any other questions coming via Facebook? What's up, Scott? Hey, man. Glad this is helpful, guys. Good. I see some love and some reactions, but no more questions. So that's good. So I'm going to give you guys, what's up, Steve? Yeah, I did work at a church at one point. That's awesome. Yeah, man. 100%. And you did too, bro. You work at a church right now. That's awesome. So anyways, guys, anybody else have any questions? Eric, thanks for the love, man. Sharing the video. It's awesome. If there's no other questions, guys, I'll wish you guys a happy Monday. Go have a great start to your week, and let us know, guys, whatever we can do to help. Please go ahead and drop below in the comments, even if you're watching this on replay, questions, comments, thoughts, and we're happy to help. Also, if you guys would like any of kind of the tools that I discussed to kind of help you guys walk some of this out, go ahead and just leave a comment on whatever platform you're on. We monitor those. Let us know if there's kind of something specific that stood out to you. You're like, man, I'd really love a tool or a template for that. Just let us know and we'll get something to you to help you along. So, all right, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. And we will be talking to many of you very soon.